Hi everyone, and welcome back to the ArdaCraft channel. For those of you who are new, welcome. We're a project that has been recreating Middle-earth in Minecraft for the past 11 years now. And recently we got the chance to chat to David. David is an environment artist, developer who spent 12 years working for Rockstar Games. In that time, he worked on games like Red Dead Redemption 2, GTA 5, and indeed the landscapes that we're going to see coming up in GTA 6. So this was a really exciting opportunity for us as a kind of amateur world creation environment art team to chat to a professional. We were able to compare and contrast the approaches that we take and the pressures that we face with that of the industry itself. And it was just a brilliant conversation to have. There's going to be multiple videos on this. This is part 2 of our conversation. So for part 1, you'll want to head over to David's channel, which will be linked in the description. But otherwise, if you watch part 1, please enjoy. We're not designing a game. We are purely, in a very kind of purist way, recreating a world, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like none of the considerations that you would put into. I mean, I can't remember where I read this, but I remember reading. Sorry, I'll just teleport you to one of the villages around this region.
Ooh, thank you.
We're just floating about. This is in Rohan, by the way, or sort of part of Rohan.
Yes, very. Yep, I see that.
And so one of the things I read somewhere at one point was basically talking about, and I think it might have been talking about Skyrim, but it could apply to any number of games, where in these open world games, it's like you want, I think, is it the rule of thumb that you want a player to have some sort of interaction every like 2 minutes to keep their attention, or I can't remember what
it's
what the
Skyrim,
rule is,
probably,
right?
yeah.
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 It's like a wolf attacks you, or you see a bandit camp, or do you know what I mean? A dragon flies in, something like that, right? And for us, it's like we're recreating Tolkien's world, and we just know for a fact that if you're going from like the Shire to Isengard across the vast wilderness of Eriador, you will, on our map, for several hours, be walking in wilderness. You'll see a few ruins, and that's basically about it. So, you know, like we don't have to worry about, oh, is this going to be boring for a player, or is this not going to keep someone's attention, or how are we going to get a quest to work here, or what enemies are we going to put into this region? Like none of that goes into it at all. It's just purely what is in the texts, what does our research tell us, how can we draw from the real world to make this realistic, done. You know, like that's our entire thing.
That's freeing you up a tremendous amount, isn't it? That it's you don't have to be always thinking about what's the player going to be doing, what's the player going to be doing, and, you know, it's that's a big plus for doing all this stuff. It's funny you mentioned Skyrim, of course, and I mean I almost feel like I'm in Skyrim in this longhouse here. You know, it's really it's just like what is it? Riverwood, is it? Like the first little sort of village town you encounter in Skyrim. You know, it's
that you come to,
yeah, and it's
exactly,
I always felt that was very Rohirrim-ish. You know, a lot of the vibe of Skyrim. But
the
cool.
white is like Whiterun is probably quite strongly inspired by Edoras, I've always thought.
Oh, totally. Yeah, very much so. Cool.
But it is just interesting how like the demands of environmental art kind of, or the demands of what you're trying to make shape what you're trying to make. I always think is pretty huge, right?
Yeah, very much. And the whole thing about games, you know, it's always got to be a game first and foremost, and so it does get in the way, certainly from like my experiences, like, you know, environmental artist. You know, the missions often override what I would want to be doing. You know, it's like any number of times I can remember like having a little back and forth between mission designers, and I'm like, dude, that wouldn't work. It would never do that. This, you know, for instance, this river wouldn't do that. But we've got to have this. The player's got to, you know, cross the river at this bit, and it's got to turn left. And I'm like, why? You know, that would make it go uphill. And, you know, and I'm like, so, but you've got to come to a compromise. Or at least I always found like the best mission designers and games designers were those willing to compromise with the artists and come to a mutually sort of satisfactory outcome. You know, like, you know, maybe we can do it this way and still have that. And, you know, there's always, or should be, a back and forth, I think. But yeah, you guys don't have any of that. That's great. I envy you in a way.
Yeah. I do. I know. I find it super because obviously, because on the flip side, obviously, our massive disadvantage as compared to, let's say, Rockstar or some other, is that we just don't have. We have none of the financial resources and none of the ability to,
Yeah,
hire
yeah.
large numbers of people to do stuff, right? So it's entirely volunteer driven, and that
Yep.
can lead to frustrations, right? Because sometimes you want something to be done in a certain amount of time and it doesn't get done, or
Yeah,
someone appears
yeah.
and says, "Oh, I'd love to help you guys," and then they do half a thing and then they disappear, and it's like, well, there's no, we can't
Yep,
go, well,
yeah.
you this is in breach of contract
Yeah.
or something. It's
You're
just,
fired.
well,
Get out.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's none of that.
Yeah,
So
well, I mean, even like working with that limitation makes it doubly impressive that you're getting all this stuff done. Because you've got to, you've got to work in a smarter way than most games companies or most any companies, because they're like, you're there to get paid. You get paid to do your work, and that's that above all else makes the job get done generally. But you've got to be smarter than that, haven't you? You've got to, you're not paying anybody. They're not. It's not their job. It's a hobby. It's done for the love of this sort of world, and so you've got to appeal to people's love of this, haven't you? Really. Um,
for sure, there's a massive people management element to this
mm.
entire thing. I mean, it's as you say, you can't ever beat people with a stick really at any point. It is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
not saying that that's what happens in the games industry, right? But you can't really.
Oh, but it does sometimes. We all know
Well,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Sometimes it's just well, this is your job and you've got to finish
Yeah.
it, sort of thing. But
I,
for
I
us, it's
should
just like,
say, Rockstar don't hit people with sticks. Never. I was never once
for
hit with a
legal reason,
stick.
for legal reasons, you would never hit with a stick. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that's
Oh,
it. It's
cool.
just like you've got to cultivate relationships with people. You've got to keep people enthused. You've got to think of ways to keep things fresh and interesting. And you're doing all that whilst you are, well, in my case, working a full-time job. In Sean's case, at university. Do you know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah, not easy.
Yeah,
A lot of
not
work.
easy.
A lot of work.
Um,
Wowzers.
but but yeah,
Wow. So,
rewarding.
just for the viewers, I should say, the stuff I see on the horizon that's kind of disconnected, that this is
Yes,
an area that's not fully done, is it? I guess this is
it,
where are
correct.
we?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not fully it's not fully incorporated into the rest of the map just yet. I mean, we
Yeah.
brought you
Cool.
here because this is kind of the kind of latest and greatest in-game stuff that we can show you. With all the smooth
Cool.
stuff, with all the new trees, right? It's just like this is this is a fun thing, by the way. This is a house that's starting a house fire that's just
Ah.
beginning in this
Yeah. Yeah.
in this house. So you can,
I
if you go in, you can see that.
Nice. I like the smoke that you've got in a lot of these things as well. It's like it's static being Minecraft, but it's very effective. Oh yeah, look at
Yeah,
that!
it
It's
works.
flames! Quick, get the buckets! No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we like to do a bit of that kind of
Ooh.
environmental storytelling stuff in our builds, and
Yeah.
the hope is that someone can go around and kind of get a bit of a story as to what's actually happening. But on top of
Yeah.
that, so
Yeah.
as well as like literally building it and people working out from that way, you've also been. I know you noticed you've been using the Pathfinder, and actually.
Hmm.
Something that we have been doing with that, and I'll just get you over to Palandros as an example.
Hmm.
Let me do that quickly.
Cool.
Because we've started to implement this thing called Project Info, which is basically like it's a version of Pathfinder, basically, which allows you to, as you walk around a project, actually get more information about the project. So let me just teleport
Yeah.
you to.
I discovered that actually just before.
Oh, you did. Oh, you did.
Yeah,
Okay.
I put it on. I was outside back end, and I was like, oh yeah, it's giving me a bit more information, which is
Yeah, there you
very
go. So
nice
if
to
you
have. Oh, lovely, lovely.
So now we're in Gondor, so a
Oh
different culture, as
yeah,
you can tell by
yeah, yeah.
by the architecture and
Oh, and
the
all
slight
sorts is going on as well, isn't it? There's lots of sort of moving parts going on. Stuff's getting built. Things are getting kind of tested by the looks of it. Excellent.
correct. Absolutely, yeah. So if you just walk over the bridge, you
All right, yeah.
should get some text popping up, telling you about the city that we're about to walk into.
Yes, welcome to Palandros, the Gondorian settlement on this side. Are we in Anorian then? Is this
We are
Anorian?
indeed.
Right,
This is
cool.
Anorian,
So
yeah.
north kind of north of Minas Tirith. For the viewer that doesn't
Correct.
know, if the viewer doesn't know where that is, why not? You should know this.
They should know exactly where Anorian is.
Actually, no, my channel of late has been turning into the Lord of the Rings channel, but I suspect there's a great many of my viewers are here for GTA and Rockstar stuff, of course, but hopefully I can convert a lot of them. Cool. Nice info.
Exactly. So it's the idea basically is, obviously as we build these projects, and Sean, feel free to step in at any point to because this is Sean's area more so than mine.
Oh, nice.
But
Sean.
as we build these projects, what we want to do is to really show that we have thought about how a settlement like this would have developed over time, right? Because Gondor is really old. It's been here for 3,000 years. And so all of this terrain and this landscape and these people have been through so much. And so we're trying to show these kind of layers of history, of architectural development, all that stuff. And that stuff may not be immediately obvious in all of its depth to someone who's just walking around. So the idea of the project info is just to give you a little bit more context of like, okay, this is what is going on. So again, here we go. Here's to the southern entrance of the old garrison. It now lies in ruins. So this is the edge of what used to be a fort, and now you can walk along the old ruined walls, and you know what I mean? You can see that this is different, and has changed.
Especially if you look from above, you can start to kind of see the shape a little bit.
Oh yeah. It's I love this. The whole Gondorian thing is cool, isn't it? Because it's kind of a bit like in our world, where as if the Roman Empire had stuck around to this day, and you've got all of those thousands of years of history, haven't you?
Sort of limping along.
just on it, exactly. Just holding on.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, I think I've been seeing screenshots of this on the Discord. Yeah.
Oh, and here's some more environmental art stuff. Yeah, there you go. So here we have the city itself, and then you see here this river being planned out. So more river content.
Yeah, this is Kane and I.
Oh, great! I'm glad I can see this then. Yeah. So the early stages, you getting the root out, and right. Excellent.
And you can see more of they have some stuff with the vegetation done and the materials placed. And this is an example of, there's a level of so Fornad obviously covers a huge amount of the area of the map, and we have some really good ways to make a lot of stuff really detailed. But if I can be so bold, there are areas that when doing them by hand over the course of hours and hours and hours can end up at another level of sort of, I guess, depth and detail.
Yeah. Another level of polish. Lovely. Yes. So
we've individually placed every plant here. It's a whole different ball game.
Oh wow! Right. Oh, I'm sorry. That's great, though, isn't it? I sympathise because I was never a veg guy. I was always terrain, so more like you, Jack. The bones of the earth, the landforms, and then rivers as well. And we had departments that would do veg. And veg only.
Sounds fun.
Well, yeah, I know it's never kind of what I wanted to do, because it can be quite laborious, can't it? If if you're painting it in. I did do a little bit. I did. I remember doing quite a few trees for a bit on GTA 5, and most of them all came out because I put way too many in. And I was like, I wanted to make it look all super foresty and awesome, but back then we couldn't afford the budget, and so a lot of had to come out, and they were like, "No, you can't put that many trees in." And I was like, "No."
And was that a performance? Is that a question of performance that drove that decision? Like Xbox can't handle interesting.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, because GTA 5 was, that was quite a feat to squeeze that onto the platforms that we were targeting. Not like now, we've got the PC version, the enhanced, and they could chuck whatever you want at that one, but they had to keep within a footprint, and I blew it. I blew the footprint.
I was gonna say, because that's actually a whole, obviously performance, like for us, it is a consideration in the sense that like we do try to we run the best suite of optimization mods that we have we
Yeah,
can get
yeah,
access
yeah.
to, right? And over time, obviously, like the great advantage, one of the great advantages of working in Minecraft is it's like the biggest game in the world and has probably the biggest modding scene in the world. So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Distant Horizons is a great example of that, of like, you know, we independently as the team of ArdaCraft, there is not a snowball's chance in hell that we would have developed something like Distant Horizons on our own, right? But because we are
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
in Minecraft and attached to this much broader modding community, when that started to work, we could then just implement it, you know, on our side. And so, whilst
Yeah,
performance
yeah.
and making things look better is really important to us, like at the end of the day, I can't recall, Sean, any build decision where we've actually no, there is one thing, actually, item frames in builds. So
There's
there
one tiny example, yeah, but I'm trying to imagine the world where you're like every day like pissed at me for how many like trees I've placed or what, like there's
trees
just
you
too much
place. Yeah, no,
vegetation.
that's
Take
I've
them
gone
never
over the
out.
performance budget. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that has
Yeah.
never happened.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that is a really big thing, isn't it? That being able to harness these other mods that makes such a big difference, and you know you don't
Yeah.
have to deal with that too much, do you? You know, you're not developing those; that they're just there, aren't they? Which you can take advantage of.
They just kind of pop
And
up and we take them.
yeah, I mean, but it's great for them as well because they, you know, what a great advertisement for Distant Horizons. You know,
Completely. Oh
yeah,
yeah. 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 There's
yeah,
been videos with our map that have got, you know, hundreds of thousands of millions of views with Distant Horizons, and it is a great advertisement
yeah,
for their mod, no question, right? You know, the
yeah.
capabilities, what it can do.
Well, I
But
mean, I was trying to get Distant Horizons working just in normal Minecraft, because my son was he found a video and it was like this guy had made Minecraft look the best he possibly could, and I was like, I want to do that, I want to do that, and I got my new PC and I was like, right, I need to make the best version of Minecraft possible, and it just completely defeated me for some reason. Just you know,
yeah.
I just didn't have the time to spend on it on figuring out why the hell it wasn't working. And then ArdaCraft comes along and it's all packaged in. And I was so
Yes.
happy and I was like, man, this is the version of Minecraft I had in my mind when I wanted to make it look all cool. And you guys did it all for me. So thank you. It was brilliant. And it was Lord of the Rings. So, you know, that was
I mean,
just,
even better, right? The best thing possible.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
I wanted to bring you to this bit because this is actually
Ooh,
recently, it's still being built, as you can tell, but it's one of the bits that we've put a lot of work and research in, and that's the kind of grave area outside
yeah,
the town.
it's
So,
nice.
you
It's
know, just
nice.
all of the work we put into like thinking about the different eras of graves and how the burial culture has changed over time in Gondor, and the
Wow.
different influences of peoples who have come
Mm.
in and have added their aspect to how burial happens. There's a whole document basically, and you know, as with everything on ArdaCraft, like you know, you look at any one particular thing, whether it's burial or agriculture or architecture or landscaping or trees or geology or that, you
Yeah.
know, you can guarantee that there are several documents behind it
Right.
where
Yeah.
people have really thought about it really hard, and
Well,
yeah,
it looks
yeah,
really nice. I mean, one thing I've noticed with the texturing, for instance, is you know, like between individual blocks of different sort of variation, you know, you've not got blends going on, but they work really well. Even though, you know, like say at Rockstar, we spend ages blending textures and making sure there's no seams and between different surface
mhm,
types and stuff. But you know, there's none of that here. But it all works really well. All these like around this tomb, you know, these bigger boulders, and then you've got them mixed in with the earth as it kind of, you know, it peters out from the more man-made section into the natural earth bank above it, and you know, it works beautifully. And in another spot, right at the in the spawn, the college, Tolkien's college at the beginning, and you go
yeah,
downstairs, and there's it just, in fact, all of the walls in that college, different rock types in different parts of the walls, and that variation from the lower part of the wall to the higher part of the wall, and it just works so well. It's really well done. Um, you know, I think
yeah,
you know you got a good eye
Yeah.
for those different construction types within the same wall.
It's a lot.
yeah.
It's a
Well,
thing we
Sean, you
definitely
can talk
spend a
about it.
huge amount of time on. Yeah, and I think
Uh,
I mean one of the benefits is I'm happy all the
mm,
time that we don't have higher resolution textures because
yeah, yeah,
within our little 32 by 32 blocks, there's actually a fair amount of like abstraction. Your eye can kind of read between the lines a little bit. And
Yeah,
so when we
yeah.
go to blend, it's a lot easier for us versus if it was like, a 4K texture that had to blend over different parts and whatever. And I
Yeah,
think that's a
yeah.
huge advantage. And then like we're talking about these like stones or looking at walls or stuff. We have like if you wanted to do like a white plaster house, for example, there are maybe 4 or 5 different shades of white plaster, as an example,
Yeah.
to blend between darker and larger bits. And these happens with all of the stones and all of these dirts and grass bits. And yeah, it's something that just it's a huge focus of ours on the building side, is just
Cool.
letting every piece be as usable as it can.
Yeah, well, it's showing really well. Yeah. And have you I guess when you're showing people the ropes, um you've got some process of sort of instilling that in people that maybe perhaps might not appreciate that so much.
I was going to say, before we answer that question, let's just wander along the road here,
Oh,
back
yeah.
towards another village, and we can
Let's do it.
look at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sean, you can talk through the application process.
Yeah, we have an application process, right? Because obviously we don't get to like we don't have like hiring people all based off portfolios and whatever. A lot of people who join have never played Minecraft before, and
Ah,
honestly, that's preferable a lot of times because we do stuff so differently.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
that it can be nice for people to have a fresh slate. But we
Yep. Yep.
basically have a process that can get people from never playing Minecraft before to legitimately like leading projects and doing large environmental artworks around. And there is a lot of stuff where it's just like every little step has to be considered. And what we try to maybe the most important thing of the application process is like
Ooh.
every time you do something, it needs to be intentional, right? Like it's so easy to just like place stuff around, but if you're like placing a bush, why? What type of bush is it? Okay, well, I'm painting this brick. Why is it
Right.
brick? Where did the brick come from? Every single decision you make has to have some sort of basis. And then when you've sort of learned this and instilled this and seen the blocks we use, it ends up being kind of natural to make like nicely blending things, right? Because you're moving from some
Yeah.
material to some other, from some plant to some other plant intentionally. And
Yeah,
I think that's
that's yeah, that's what um most of the environment artists that I know and have worked with, like when you're making stuff, you've got a little story inside your head about what's gone on there and why and how.
Mhm.
And like you just said, Sean, yeah, like why is it here? What's it doing? Where did it come from? Who did it? What were they doing when they were making it? It's like, and a classic example in say GTA 5, like gardens of houses and stuff. What's been going on here? What sort of party were they having when all this stuff is lying around? And
Yeah,
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 it's the internal story about it that shows through into the final product. And I think if you don't have
completely.
that, it comes out as soulless.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
exactly. And it's funny how you know it's interesting. I always think sometimes how people exploring these kinds of environments, it's like maybe they won't be able to articulate exactly why it doesn't look or feel good, but the sort of
Mm.
subconscious is picking up on the fact that, as you say, there isn't a story here, there isn't a reason for things to be here.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
doesn't feel intentional. This is just kind of randomly placed, and you can tell, even if you don't really know why, you can tell, right? And I
yeah,
think,
yeah. Totally, totally.
yeah,
I'm loving this
yeah,
big road here. This is great. This is just like a classical like Roman road that's
yeah,
fallen into ruin. And I guess
yeah.
over here I'm looking at the mountain. Oh yeah, there's Minas Tirith, isn't it? So that's Mountains of Shadow there, isn't it? And behind us,
Correct.
White
Yeah, absolutely.
Mountains. Oh,
So
awesome.
you're picking up beautifully on the environmental storytelling of the fact that this
Ah.
was once a very important road that would have run to Osgiliath, the old capital,
Yeah, yeah.
and then runs back westward towards the rest of Venorian. But now, as you say, has fallen into disrepair, isn't quite as well used anymore. But you can tell. I mean, the kind of I mean, and
Mm.
it's even more obvious when you look at the ruins of the aqueduct over there that this
Yeah.
was an area that used to be much
Wow.
richer and grander than it once was, and now has kind of fallen a bit to the wayside.
Yeah,
And
great.
that's the story we're trying to tell throughout Gondor. Yeah,
It just reminds me about I just finished reading a book about Roman roads in Britain, and I forget who It's called The Road, not to be confused with Cormac McCarthy's The Road.
Very
It's
different
very
book.
different, yeah. Very different. But it's called The Road, yeah, and it's about all this stuff, about the stories of the old Roman roads, and, you know, how they get lost and found again over the centuries. And, you know, like people come along and they take all the stones for building, and, you know, and in many cases they didn't want those roads hanging around, because then they hastened foreign armies, invading armies that, you know, could get to your doorstep all the quicker through taking advantage of these ancient roads. You know,
Yeah.
so there's stories behind these highways, you know, that have deep roots in history. And yeah, I mean, you know, Middle Earth is full of that, isn't it? It's such a rich place. Oh,
It is,
nice.
and Tolkien's kind of given us this wonderful kind of basis from which to work, right? And we can, we can. I mean, just as he did, right? Because the reason that his world feels in many ways so true,
Mm.
true and real and kind of well thought out is that he himself was drawing upon so much of this history, right? So we're just kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
picking up that baton and running with it and going, okay, well, let's do this. Let's take the exact same kind of spirit of what he was trying to do, which was to bring all of these primarily kind of European histories and mythologies to life in Middle Earth, and just keep running with it and see what
Yeah.
we can do and see what
That's
we can
cool.
make. And
This
yeah,
aqueduct is lovely, actually. You know, it's like I'm kind of looking at this end where you've got like the original stonework, but it's kind of crumbled, and then you've got repairs and different construction methods along it, different materials. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
All very heavily drawn from just real stuff that we see in
yeah,
Yeah.
outside Rome.
So you
right.
may notice that like the material is a whole lot darker here.
Yeah.
Um, this will actually come from, if we fly over this way, there's a quarry,
Oh, right.
and this would have been
Oh,
basalt.
nice.
And there's a geological story we could tell about all of Anorian and soon all of the map, but
Oh,
um,
excellent. Oh, love
ancient
it.
geological activity here would have deposited lava flows that would have cooled and hardened into basalt. That's what we have here.
Ah, right.
And
Yeah.
these are based off very real features that we've spent a lot of time looking at pictures of. Um, and actually, a fun fact about here is this quarry hasn't been used in a very long time. Would have been used for the original aqueduct, but it also is the source for a lot of the material, at least in our, sort of our expansion of Tolkien's work, to
Yeah.
make the first level of Minas Tirith, the Black Wall. A lot of the
Oh,
basic material would have come from here, and then they had, whatever fantastical Numenorian processing they would have done to it.
yeah.
But
Magic stone. Yeah.
yeah,
Cool. Nice. I love that. Yeah, nice bit of you're tying the construction into the geology, aren't you? Great. I love that. Oh, Minas Tirith's looking very nice over there as well. I've had a little few wanders around there.
it's
Ah,
it's
yeah.
all of our greatest dreams and all of our worst nightmares.
Yeah. It's
In,
really big,
in
isn't
that
it?
place.
Yeah.
It's really big, yeah,
Yeah,
and
man.
it's it's that kind of. I mean, actually, we could do a bit more environmental storytelling over here. Actually, I'll teleport you to the Ramasekor, because this is a fun detail as well that we like
Oh,
to point
cool.
out to people. So the
Mm.
Ramasekor, which, as you know,
Mm.
is this kind of great outwall around the Pelennor Fields.
Yeah.
The interpretation that we have for it is that at least this northern section, if you look at the side of it, you see how there's these arches. So this
Yeah, yeah.
was part of the Ramasekor was in our minds once an aqueduct that ran to Osgiliath, another aqueduct,
Ah,
but has then been bricked, like, has been built over, and brick has been placed in the arches, right, and has been repurposed into this wall, because they don't,
yeah.
obviously Osgiliath doesn't have much need of water these days because no one lives there.
Yeah.
So they've repurposed a chunk of the aqueduct and have turned it into this outwall, and
Yeah, I
and then
mean
if you fly over here, actually, you can see how it
Right, I'll follow
splits
you.
off.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you know, once Osgiliath fell, you know, I mean, it would make sense to turn this into a fortification, wouldn't it? You know,
Yeah,
that's the first line of defense almost, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a
Oh,
big thing from history of, like, people reusing. I mean, these days we slap blue plaques on buildings and say you can't touch them, and they're listed and all this stuff, but back
yeah.
in the day they didn't care at all, and they would
Yeah.
just knock things down and pick stones up and use them for different things,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, yeah,
Wow. Lovely. I love it. The Pelennor Fields stretching out there. Excellent.
Yeah, so very
Ah.
unstarted, as you can tell, as compared to the stuff we were just
Completely
in. But
done. Looks good. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I
yeah.
like
I mean, we
there's text written into the landscape in various bits, isn't there? And I think I saw
yeah, yeah,
placeholder
very
stuff. Yeah.
outdated and will all be completely redone. But yeah, I mean, our kind of general approach with this stuff is like this. So the area we were just walking through and flying through, the kind of farmlands over here.
Mm.
This is all kind of. I'll bring you back over. But
Cool.
this is
Thank
all
you.
kind of our, I want to say practice run, because obviously we want this to be as good as possible, but we need the Pelennor to be like the best farmland you've ever seen. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
working ourselves up to the point where we can competently go in and do the Pelennor fields around Minas Tirith, and all of this is just kind of like a trial run for that. And
Yeah,
so
right. Yeah, cool. So like starting
yeah,
using all that from an Orient and working down, and
yeah,
yeah,
working down, yeah.
that's a
So
good idea, because like once you get to the Pelennor Fields proper, you've had a lot of
yeah,
practice then, haven't you? And
yeah,
you've worked out the kinks in your workflow and the stuff that looks coolest, and and I suppose you'd be quicker at doing it in that particular style as well. So
Is
yeah.
that something that ever happens like professionally, in the sense of, let's say you're working in a new environment or a new area, do you ever do bits that are a bit out of the way first before you do the central bits? I don't know. I'm speaking in very general terms here,
I guess
but I'd be interested. Yeah.
possibly. I mean, I think that's very much up to the individual artist.
Of course.
And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
also
yeah, yeah.
depends on like what area have you got, and how big it is. There's a
Right.
few factors in that, but I mean, within that, yeah, say if I had like a mountain or a mountain valley, I would kind of, yeah, maybe noodle around the edges a bit and work in toward the bit that I think is most important. Certainly, if there's a mission in there as well, that will have implications to how I approach it, and yeah, you'll
For
want to
sure.
kind of get the workflow nailed before you get to the bit that's going to have most attention. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of workflow, I mean, if I bring you over here, obviously
Ooh.
we're in a work in progress area, and you can see, so this is kind of the way that we work on the map a lot of the time, is we set up these kind of floating cloud squares, or plat or plots, as we call them.
Right.
And then individual builders or apprentices can go in and claim them and have a go at them. And then they get these feedback on signs, right? So you can see that it's a kind of narrative of, you know, claimed by this person, Yolt, then work in progress, then they put a waiting approval block, and then someone said not approved, left a few signs around, try and make these tweaks.
Ah.
Then there
Yeah.
was waiting approval again, and then again it was approved, and then again it was not approved apparently, and then the person had to come back in and change something else. So a lot of the time you
These are
get this
often done
kind
in
of,
multiple steps. So that would be
yeah,
why.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a kind of narrative that you can follow and understand.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I see well, you probably don't, or you can't realize, I suppose, but I see a lot of parallels between all of this and like games development. Certainly in the studios I've worked, all these processes are fairly standard in the games industry because they make sense.
It's really funny. I find it so funny how, because we were actually at Oxenmoot last year, which was the this kind of annual gathering of the Tolkien Society,
Yeah.
and we had a
Yeah.
guy
Cool.
from Lord of the Rings Online actually come along and explain to us how he, not to us directly, right, but just to the society in general,
Yeah.
how he how they approached building a certain area of Middle Earth, right, how they approached doing it, and it was so interesting to just see how we have independently arrived at many of the same work processes and
Yep.
ways of doing stuff that the professional industry has. And it's almost just because, well, it's the most logical way of approaching it, and it makes sense, and this is
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
would do it. And but it's just kind of funny to see that because none of us, I mean, none of the team, I don't think, have ever worked professionally in the industry, right? So, but it's just very funny to see that this stuff just kind of gets naturally
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
borne out when you're under the same similar pressures.
Well, I mean, and
Um,
of course, you've been doing it for 10 years as well, which is more than
yeah,
a lot of developers will have been working on, like, certainly one project. Like, there's not many games that are getting worked on for 10 years. I mean, Rockstar takes quite a while to do their games. But even so, you know, you've had a long time to find the best ways to do things, haven't you, as well? So that reaps its
absolutely,
own kind of rewards. And well, yeah,
yeah,
you're
it
on the
does.
right track. So I'd carry on with all that. Yeah, you don't need me to tell you
No,
that.
it's good.
It's you know, it's
It's good to know. It's good to know. You know, if you come in and say, "Well, why the hell are you doing?" Yeah, exactly. Like this is completely stupid. Yeah, yeah. But
Ooh,
it is fun to see how all this kind of transfers across.
yeah,
Okay,
nice.
I mean, I was just thinking, like, obviously we could go on and we could look at so much in Anorian. We could look at so much. I mean, we've looked through the trees and the rivers and talked a bit about the geology and stuff and the thought process we have there. I
Yeah.
wonder if it would be useful now at this point to, and this may involve a bit of fiddling on your end with OBS, but to switch up. If I can do some streaming, Luther can do some streaming of the external programs, some of
Ah,
the
cool.
external resources and stuff. I don't know if
Yeah.
that would be possible. I
Yeah, cool.
appreciate that. Yes,
Yes,
maybe you have
of
to
course.
wrangle with that, but
Definitely, let's do
yeah,
that. To the viewers, you know, I'm not used to having people on my my channels. I'm bodging around here and you know, fiddling about with all sorts of stuff on audio and
yeah,
things. I'm getting a lot of it wrong actually. So you know, but people are quite patient with me. They know that I'm always just bodging around. So that wraps up part 2. And you'll find part 3 over on my channel, Game World Art. And we get into World Painter. Jack takes us through his process of World Painter and lots of other interesting things besides. So the link will be on the video and in the description, all that stuff. So yeah, see you there and thanks for watching. Bye bye.